I have to say, like, I've been so inspired by you guys, by you and Dejan and everyone else who showed up. Like, I think it just matters that you realize that you have what I called the superpower. Like, you have the superpower to change the world. It's not, no one outside of you is going to do it. And the fact that you guys decided to take it on yourselves and say, yeah, why not? Why not us? Why don't we try to do it? And all we have to do is get people together and start talking about a new direction that might lead to a new kind of behavior and a new kind of world for us. When we were at the Peace Summit in Chicago a couple weeks ago, back on the 25th, one of the kids who came to our breakout session had a really big insight. He had this moment in the breakout where he had been saying that the cycle of violence in the gangs is impossible to break because you have to retaliate. Like, there's a kind of written in stone assumption in their community that if someone commits an act of violence against you, you have to retaliate with violence against them or someone from their group, because otherwise you look weak or you look like you don't care about the person who was harmed. And we had a really interesting discussion about showing how that pattern is only maintained and continued if people believe in that thinking and subscribe to that thinking. And the very notion that weakness is not retaliating was something we kind of questioned. And you really pushed him on, like, you know, well,
that's made up.
That's made up. And it's going to take someone who's willing to stand up and say, that's made up, and I want to make up something different. And someone who can lead in the community that has influence, that when they say, here's a different direction we're going to go, people will listen and follow. There was this moment where, like, it felt like his eyes kind of flickered, and he suddenly, after he'd been pushing us saying that's impossible, all of a sudden he was like, I could do that. And we were like, do what? He was like, well, I have influence in the gangs in these communities because, you know, my father was leader of a gang. He's in prison now, but he's, you know, very senior, and my mother was part of another, her family is part of another gang, and I have respect, and I have really kind of immunity almost, it seemed like he's not really touchable in terms of people aren't going to push back against him. So he realized, like, if anyone could do that, if anyone could reverse that mentality, I could do that. And what was so cool to me is that I thought we would then need to go follow up with him. Well, he, like, 2 hours later came over to us and was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And he was like, how are we going to make this happen? So long story short, because we have to go, we have a call with him right now, and this will be the third or the fourth call that I've had with him in the last week and a half since we came back from Chicago. And to my absolute delight and amazement, he's dead serious, and he's run with this to the point that he's already got a crew of like 15 people to come to a house on Friday night and talk to him about this. Like, he's absolutely taking this seriously and is organizing his community. Ultimately, the people in his community, in gangs or not, all want the same thing. They want to feel good. They want to wake up. They want to feel like they have what they need in life in order to be okay. And if it was introduced that they could have that without having to have this cycle of violence and the fear that looms over their head all the time and their families, that they would take it. It's just a matter of never having seen another option. So we're about to have a follow-up call with him right now.
Yeah.
To hear how his Friday evening gathering went. Hey.
Alright, you ready, Dejan?
Sorry.
It's okay. My ringer was off.
Oh, that's okay. I was trying to call you and then she was calling me. Anyway, worked out. Tell me how it went on Friday night.
It went pretty good. I was with a lot of my homies, and I was talking to them about what we were trying to do. I got one of the people here I wanted to talk to. His name Tizo, the one I was telling about, the one that had the twins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was here too. I wanted him to talk to you.
So he was there as well.
Yeah, he was there too. He was willing to talk to you that night, but he was asleep.
Yeah, I got a little late for me. Sorry about that.
I talked to Tizo about like what's the problem within our community and how he can change it too.
Tell me about the perspective of the people who thought it was going to be hard And then the perspective of the people who liked the sound of it and kind of believed in it.
Because the perspective of the people thought it was going to be hard, because those people, like, they feel like revenge is needed. Like, they feel like it ain't going to stop because they want revenge. Like, if something happened to one of our friends, they going to want to go back and retaliate. So that's why they feel like it's hard. And then, like, the people who didn't think it's hard, they feel like there's no point in the game, man. There's no point in trying to take somebody else's life.
Like, if we come in town to Chicago again, do you think the people that were there Friday night would have a conversation with us?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. How many people were there?
6 or 7.
He goes 7. No, that's cool. I mean, the thing is like, you have to start somewhere. And what I've learned doing this, like, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to when they're like, no, what you're talking about is too hard. Like, that's impossible. Like, we hear that all the time. We do too. Like, but the thing that makes a difference is if you know it's possible. And the clearer and the stronger you are in seeing, and we can talk about it in this call, and then I'd love to hear like questions, but it's you seeing the truth of it, that the only way to create a safer Chicago that everyone is going to like the feeling of better than the one you're currently in is by realizing someone has to step up and decide to break the cycle, right? Because otherwise the cycle just spins out of control, and then you're stuck in that forever. Like, you know, when we talked to Dejan when we were there, the thing he said, which I have found is true of every human being everywhere on the planet, is that ultimately people want to wake up and not feel afraid. Like, it sucks. It's a terrible feeling to wake up and know that if you step outside your house, you have to worry. Worrying is one of the most annoying, frustrating human emotions, and nobody likes living with it, or pressure, or fear. And the idea that with a different understanding of how all of that is just being perpetuated by thinking about that in one way, which is the way that, you know, they said, which is, oh, we have to retaliate. We have to. Well, if we think we have to retaliate, then that cycle of violence is always out of our control. And the ability to wake up and feel secure and safe and at ease is impossible. So the more you guys having these conversations are kind of sharing what you know to be true about the possibility to create the kind of community that's going to feel better to everyone. That it's not ridiculous, that it's not impossible, that actually it's simple. And it comes down to a few people like you guys deciding to start having conversations and get people interested in looking in a new direction. Like, that's what I talk about my job as all the time. It's like, it looks so big and complicated in your head, and people are constantly going to resist and be like, oh, that's crazy, or that's impossible, or that could never happen. They're always going to have their reasons. But if you know, it's simple. We just have to start pointing people in a new direction. Showing them that actually peace of mind, freedom of mind, the feeling to live at ease, which is what every human really wants, is totally a possibility. We just have to look in a new direction. We have to point people toward, look, you can make up new thinking about our world, about our relationships to each other, about our community. The only thing that's holding that idea of retaliation in place is thought. Somebody thinks you have to retaliate, and then everybody jumps on that bandwagon, right? Oh yeah, that's true, we gotta retaliate, otherwise you're weak, or otherwise you're not doing your part. It's like, no, someone has to go, that's made up. And I think we can make up a different kind of thinking that's ultimately gonna give people what they want faster, and it's gonna last longer. It's so cool that you guys are doing that. And this is just the beginning. Like, there's so much more you're going to learn as we go along about, you know, I told Dejan on the phone before he had that meeting on Friday, it's like, all you have to do is show that you're interested in helping people. That's it. If you show that the whole reason you're doing this is because you're interested in helping them have more of what they want in life, which is to feel better, then they're going to keep coming to the conversation whether they believe you or not, whether they agree with it or not, because you're offering something that they want.
I
I was there. I felt as if it was a broad subject that but it was a lot that we can face. We discovered the first step that we got to make, but we always got to come up with that backup plan just in case those actions don't have a solution to the problem. And we can reach the people that we're reaching, but what about those who we got to make it known, like a public service announcement, some more people brought you shoot me, I shoot you, and then go back and forth. We can stop that, like you said, retaliation. Maybe we can take that from being a common thought into making it so it's not forgot about, but it stops.
It stops being the common thought, right?
Yeah.
And it's about being really resilient. Like, no matter how many times you try something and maybe it doesn't work, it never has to be a reason in your own thinking to stop trying. You'll only stop if you think you have to stop. So for every time that something that we do in this, kind of effort that we're all working on together, if it doesn't work, fine, no problem. Like, let's think of something else. I can't tell you how many times in my 12 years of doing this that I've done things that have worked, but I've also done things that haven't worked. And it's always like a question, to your point of like, what else have we not thought of? What else could we be doing that might be more effective? And then the other thing you said, which I love, which has always been my question with what we're up to with One Solution, because we're trying to spread this message as far and wide as possible. Like, Chicago is one place, but we're trying to go all around the world with this and say, look, if everybody understood freedom of thought, no one would become a victim to their circumstances.